Hello and welcome to Healthy Livin International. I'm Rita, personal coach, licensed hypnotherapist, founder of Healthy Livin International. And here on our website and our YouTube channel, we share proven ways of how to evolve into healthier versions of ourselves, whether it is becoming healthier mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and even financially. In today's series called Interviews with Our Health Gurus, we are so excited and happy to have with us Charles Barton, who is a naturopath. Right, Charles has got about more than 20 years experience as a naturopath. So thank you, Charles, for making the time and the effort to come here and share your insights with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rita. Very nice to be here.
Okay, to kickstart the session, I'm very sure some of us are very new to this term, naturopath. So what exactly is a naturopath and what specifically does a naturopath do?
Okay, so naturopaths, they originated in Germany, where they had a lot of natural cures back in 1890 something. And what they did was they did hydrotherapy, they did all sorts of different slightly quackery type activities to help people with their health, and some worked and some didn't, but there wasn't a lot of uh, proof behind a lot of the things they do. And then we have the idea of how people interpret it, because doctors, for example, will be a specialist in one particular area, and naturopaths are the same. There are some things that they have strengths in, some things they don't. That's the idea, that something that's been around for hundreds of years and includes iridology and homeopathy and all sorts of other elements, detoxification. It's a whole realm of trying to naturally help the human body, which can heal itself quite a lot, actually. Is that
Okay.
a bit clearer for you, Rita?
Yes, thank you
Great.
so much. Yes. Let's say someone who's in Singapore, let's say he's very interested or she is very interested in becoming a naturopath. So how would you advise the person? What should he be studying? What are the courses, the qualifications, the certifications that are needed? What is the route to take? Perhaps you would like to enlighten us on this?
That's a good question, because a lot of people are interested in helping other people with their health. It's something that's very, 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 very rewarding when you see someone really transform their health. And here, I hope it's okay if I give your listeners and viewers a little bit of advice on this. Naturopaths have a real variety of different styles of training in the United States, in Australia, and there are naturopathic clinics in every town. Many naturopathic clinics in every town. It's not something that's unusual. So the training really varies. Like, I have a Singaporean friend who's a naturopath, and she went and spent 3 years in Sydney or New South Wales, and she did incredibly detailed and thorough work. She built up all the skills that are, not all the skills, but lots of the skills that a regular doctor's training involves, all their physiology and psychology, all sorts of elements. And that was really thorough. But then you take someone like me. 20 years ago, I decided I wanted to be a naturopath. And at the time, I was offered a course that I could do from Singapore. So I would do my assignments, I'd send them in, they'd be marked, I send them back, and this went on for a few years, but it was part-time. And there are a lot of things I learnt during that course, which I've completely forgotten since. So what I'd like to suggest to everyone who's thinking about this, being a health coach is not completely rocket science. As everybody knows, if we go running 3 times a week, we'll have a better body than if we don't. If we dehydrate ourselves all the time. So a lot of it is common sense. But a lot of people need to be encouraged, and you need to walk along with the person, holding their hand and saying, well done, that's a bit of improvement. Like, I recently had a client who said, you want me to eat less sugar, but how can I do that? Because I smoke cigarettes. I said, well, cigarettes don't have any calories, so you get started straight away. And later on, he stopped smoking cigarettes. So you work with the people and you help them in that way. And so be warned. There's a PowerPoint slide I think I may have given you, which talks about caveat emptor, which is buyer beware. So have a really thorough look at what the course is, who are the people who are running it, because you'll find lots and lots of courses like that available. And that's something I'd like to stress to you, is that be careful with what kind of course you find. And the last thing I'll say about this is quackery. It's very easy for someone to become believer in iridology, which is where you look at the eyes and see the marks and it tells you something about the health. There's no real scientific proof behind this. And so you have to decide yourself what you are certain really helps, rather than just take on something because it's on a naturopathic course. People have to have their own independent judgment on things like that. So as the slide says here, there are all sorts of areas that naturopaths deal with, and some will be a really good specialist in psychotherapy. Others will be good at giving people salty baths, and lots of different areas. And just like regular doctors, not everyone can be a specialist in everything. So people looking for help from naturopaths also have to be very careful to make sure they're getting someone they believe is not going to make them take supplements that don't do them any good. And there are a lot of supplements around. People rush up to you every week saying, this supplement is great, you should take this. And they're usually wanting to make money out of you. So you have to be very, very aware of the dangers of being too gullible or being too skeptical. There are a lot of people who won't believe a single thing unless it's said by a doctor. But a lot of the doctors haven't had more than a day or two of nutritional training in their lives. And they're very good in certain areas, but they don't know much about, for example, food as a medicine, which is one of the things that naturopaths are particularly keen on. Thank you, Rita.
Okay, so if I were to just sum up, it's like they would need to perhaps initially specialize in physiology and psychology, and then after that, depending on the specialization, they would go into various aspects, perhaps herbalism, etc., or acupuncture even. So there are different types of naturopaths, and different studies would then emerge because of that specialization. Is that what you are saying?
No, I haven't made it very clear, but I'll make it a tiny bit clearer now. The
Okay.
naturopathic course, even if it's 3 years, will give you a basic idea about iridology, about hydrotherapy, about vitamins, about minerals, about nutrition. And then when you finish, you'll think, now I learnt about all these things, but where do I start? And then you might find that one of the therapies gets great results. So that might become a bit of your speciality. So people, yes, will find areas where they want to spend more time helping people.
Okay, so it's more broad-based first, and then later on, then you actually tweak it to whatever you want to specialize in.
And
Correct?
that's what that's the personality of the particular naturopath, whatever they think is important. If you take me, for example, I'm keen on things that are not that the doctors will complement the doctors. They're not something you do differently from the doctors. So I will encourage people to do their exercise, to eat properly, to drink enough water, to get enough sleep, to do enough meditation or exercise to get themselves in low stress levels. Very basic things, but these are so important. You can change the whole path of chronic illness if you change the habits of healthy living. So that's my particular focus. Whereas other people, you go along to naturopath and say, okay, let's give you this ginkgo biloba. Let's give you this. Let's give you that. Let's give you this. Take this ginger. And Ayurvedic. There are a lot of areas of natural medicine around.
Okay, great. So, Charles, what made you personally gravitate towards this particular brand or this particular type of naturopath that you specialize in? Is there like a personal story, like a personal angle, a background that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, well, I realize that in Singapore there are 500,000 diabetics, type 2 diabetics. And in my research, I realized that the majority of those diabetics can put their diabetes into remission. They can get reduced or off their medicines, taken off by their doctor, not by me. Naturopaths have no control over issuing medications. That's for the MD, that's for the doctor to do. But when the readings improve, the doctor has to take them off the amount of insulin or the amount of metformin. So then I realized that there are thousands and thousands of doctors, thousands of them, who are actually using simple methods to make diabetes, which is one of the biggest problems for our planet at the moment, to make it become not so much of a problem. And that's where my passion came from, was seeing, and I'll tell you, I was working for nearly a year and a half out of Novena Medical Center. And I had people coming to me with this, with challenged by diabetes, and saying, what can they do with their lifestyle? And I would instruct them exactly what to do. And I'd say, right, come back next month. And they'd come back, and I was thinking, how many of them are going to get results that please them? And they just kept coming. Every week they came back and said, every month they came back, different people, different weeks, and said, this isn't a scam. This is really working. My doctors told me to stop doing this, and I'm feeling so much better. And other really exciting. And that passion was kindled by that time when I was speaking to diabetics every day.
Oh, wow, wonderful, wonderful. That's right. So can you share with us like one or two, results that your clients have experienced, that perhaps
Sure.
have worked out really well? I think this would give a lot of people who are suffering from chronic diseases some kind of hope as well.
Yeah, so one example is a lady who came in. She was taking 8 medications. She was diabetic and overweight, and cholesterol, for blood pressure, a whole lot of things. So she had all these problems. And what I did was I put her onto my program. And 3 months later, she came in so excited. She said, my GP has taken me off 7 out of my 8 medications. There's only 1 left in a smaller dose. And then a few weeks later, she was off that as well. And she lost incredible amount of weight. She felt like she was a different person. And that took a lot of the chronic problems away already. And then doing what I explained, what I taught her to do as lifestyle changes, she saw amazing results. So I was very pleased with her. Another husband and wife, he just become unemployed, and they were struggling financially, but he was very overweight. The wife was also overweight, and the two of them lost over 17 kilograms each over a few months. And his whole mood, it changed his mood as well. And he felt much happier. And he felt that the interviews he did shortly after getting so much healthier were the energy he had was the driving force. And he got another good job back, got himself employed again. So his employment came back, his health came back, and he was posting pictures of himself and his wife before and after. And he was so excited. So there are a couple of examples, but there are hundreds and hundreds. The trouble is, this is frustrating, Rita. There are, as I told you, 500,000 diabetics in Singapore. And out of Novena Medical Center, I only helped 200. That's so few.
But that's
And
at
I'll
least
tell us.
it's a good start, Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot better than none. I agree.
That's right. Thank you. I'm sure
But
they must be
but
thanking you.
the frustration comes from the fact that there are so many other people who could have a much more healthy life and live much longer. In fact, you know that 1 out of 3 diabetics dies from a stroke or a heart attack. So it's a huge problem for the medical services all over the world. And so this is something that, and I'll tell a story later on that illustrates this. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you for sharing those two particular stories because, yes, I think it gives us a lot of hope, especially people who struggle with the pain of, suffering from chronic diseases, right? Not only the mental and the emotional, but also, the financial aspects as well. So it's
Yeah,
really good for me, especially. It's really good to hear about this. I'm very sure the viewers listening in will also be finding it very very hopeful. All right.
I see you've put up a slide on the screen. This was another client whose sugar readings were over 14, which those of you who know is really quite
This is
dangerous.
another one.
And
Okay.
he came to me really panicking about it. And now, a week or two ago, he sent me this photograph by WhatsApp of his blood reading, and it was 5.9 on the 9th of September or something like that, 6th of September. So it's exciting, all these people who keep getting, not everyone, of course, because not everyone sticks to things, but the majority of people just seem to keep on getting better. It's been very exciting. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Normally, is it a course of like, is there a certain time frame? So for this particular case, how
This
did it,
th-
how did
this
it come
person, it was
so
very
quick?
quick, just two weeks or so. Um, it's possible to, for someone who's very worried about their diabetes, if they're supervised by a doctor, not by me, they can virtually get rid of diabetes in 7 days. All they have to do is just drink water for 7 days, and their
Really?
carbohydrate levels will drop because there's no sugar going in, and they'll put themselves in a whole new state. So it is very exciting.
Okay. Drinking water for 7 days. Can the person
In other,
eat
wo-
food?
in other words, what I'm saying is fasting, a liquid fast for 7 days. And that's not something I want anyone who's listening now to go off and do on their own, because they might get hypoglycemia and need to be very carefully supervised. But if they are doing that, very often they're off their medication for the rest of for the rest of their lives after 7 days. So it really varies as to how quickly people get results. But one of the programs I'm working with now, we have to warn very seriously the clients that in the first 3 days they must take their sugar readings, preferably 4 times a day, because they're going into a situation where they're not spiking their sugar and they're still taking the medication. So the medication can actually put them in danger of a coma and collapsing and dying, because suddenly they're getting all this medication which is putting them in danger. So those first days they have to be ready to get the doctor to remove some of the medication so that they're not straining themselves too suddenly. So be careful, anyone. If you want to do something like this, try and do it with someone who's got good experience. And there are some doctors now who are aware of these things, but for others, they'll say, oh, no, just keep taking the medication, because very seldom have doctors told people to reduce medication. So it's quite a challenge. But talk to your doctor before you do anything. Any changes in it's so important.
Yeah. So normally, do doctors cooperate? Let's say if the patient goes and says, I'm going to see a naturopath, and this is what he recommends. I would like to do that. Do most doctors also cooperate and with that patient? Based on your experience, are they very cooperative or are they not?
It varies from person to person. The majority of them are surprisingly cooperative. Um, I what I do is I send a two-page instructions and detail of exactly what we're doing, what we're offering, and say to the doctor, you now, having seen this information, you can decide whether you feel it's safe for your client, your patient, to follow this protocol. What we do point out is that 20,000 doctors have recommended it, and it's been around since 1903. This method's been used. You go to the Canadian Medical Association journal, you'll find examples of people being treated in Canada, and they were getting rid of diabetes using the same method that I teach, and that's 100 years ago. And it is possible, actually, maybe it might amuse your listeners, viewers, to know that it's possible to get rid of diabetes in about 1 hour. For someone who's extremely overweight, they can have bariatric surgery. And before they have this stomach banding to shrink the stomach so they can't eat as much, so they won't swallow as much carbs, before they have the banding, they're on a ton of medication and insulin. The moment they finish the operation, they never take insulin or medication again. So I don't recommend bariatric surgery because it has complications and things, except in certain severe situations. But that, if it's possible to get rid of diabetes that way, it's pretty impressive. And there have been write-ups in the Lancet, all sorts of places about improving, putting diabetes into type 2 diabetes into remission. Please remember that 90% of people who've got type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is a different illness entirely, not something you can get rid of in the same way.
All right, but both type 1 and type 2 can be tackled with naturopathy, right?
Type 1 diabetes, we can guide people to manage their, because they don't produce any insulin whatsoever, and it's a totally different situation. So that they can be helped to manage by us, but we wouldn't say we can help them to put it into remission because it's a different illness. In fact, there are 5 types of diabetes, types 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but most people only know about type 2 and type 1.
So by
I
far,
hope this is not too much information, everybody. I just
no,
get
the more
excited to talk about it.
because I think we're learning new things, and I think it's good for the community to be aware, because I think with greater awareness comes greater possibility to actually, evolve and help ourselves become a much more healthier. So yes, so type 2 actually holds more promise, right? That's what I glean from it. In terms of using the natural,
Natural methods, yeah. Using lifestyle changes. Type 2 diabetes is one of the easiest chronic diseases to get rid of. Get rid of is the wrong term. I should be saying putting into remission. But some people, they've got rid of it for 15 years, and their average sugar reading, their HbA1c over 3 months is below 6, and so that's what usually is the classification for being diabetic.
All right, great. I'm learning so many new things. All right, now point blank, can chronic diseases like high blood pressure, myopia, even cancer, can it be treated effectively with naturopathy?
I wouldn't know. I have no knowledge about myopia. I don't specialize in helping cancer. If someone's leading a healthier lifestyle, they're probably less prone to cancer. But I wouldn't go into this business, oh, come to me, you've got cancer, I'll get rid of it. I don't believe in, that may be possible, I do hope it is, but that's not something I know about. I can't help with that. The first one you mentioned, blood pressure, on our program, most of the clients get off their blood pressure medication if they're on it when they start with us. So blood pressure is something which can benefit from natural lifestyle adjustments. And this is important to say to your clients, that just to talk about the diet industry, it's a billion dollar industry, and 85% of those people who spend money on diets either don't remain permanently at the right weight, or they don't achieve anything. And this is quite scary, that only 15% of the people actually get somewhere with optimizing their weight. And so this whole business of, how can I explain it, the idea of being healthy is something which involves willpower. Diets basically don't work. People avoid eating chocolate for a month and then they start eating it again. And usually they have yo-yo effect, which is bad for the health, and they get heavier than they were before. And so this problem, 70% of Americans are overweight. In Singapore, it's going up. It's really scary. And so I think it's really important to say that what we work with is no diet, no supplementation. There's no we work on lifestyle changes, and we say to people, you don't need any willpower because we can get rid of the craving for carbohydrates. I wonder if any of your clients know that, not clients, your visitors, your guests know that it's been stated, I don't know if it's true, that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. So it's a huge problem in the world of people overeating on junk food.
That's right. All our foods basically have some form of sugar, actually, really, right?
Yep, that's right.
Processed food.
Carbohydrate is,
That's right. And even when we go out and eat, even in the restaurants and all that, they always put some form of sugar. So we are like getting addicted left, right, and center.
left, right, and center sums it up. And of course, it's the cheap food. You can fill someone up with rice or something, and it costs you very little, but you still get some income if you're the restaurateur. Um, but other things are, it's all to do with eating well.
Right. Coming back to natural lifestyles, right? Are there any misconceptions you would like to clarify about naturopathy so that we can have like a more informed, like a more accurate view about some aspects of it so that people, will be more enlightened?
Yeah, that's a difficult one to answer. I don't think I can give you some misconceptions. I've already explained how if you decide to train to be a naturopath, you have to be very buyers beware, you have to be very careful. And if you go to a naturopath for help because you've got a particular problem, don't believe everything they say. Be wary and get more than one opinion is my advice with working with naturopaths. And also ask them for 6 people that they've helped, so that they can speak to these people and find out what kind of experience they had. So there are a lot of ways you can be wise about who you get to help you with your health. Yep.
Is there like a certification, a cert, or anything that that people could also ask? That one would be another way, right?
Yes, for example, I have a certificate, a naturopathic diploma, ND, naturopathic diploma up on my wall. But is that diploma as good as the one that my friend did in New South Wales many years ago? Hers was much more thorough. So you see the certificate, but is it something someone just created using uh, using Canva or something?
Okay.
So I'm just saying, be careful, everyone. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that for hypnotherapy and being a hypnotherapist, it's actually in the directory. So, for example, like I'm a licensed hypnotherapist, you can actually check me out,
Yeah.
at the directory, and then you will have the name, the license number. And that's what I will always advise any of my clients anyway, to actually do a QC, a quality control check, right? Go to the actual source and then double check so that you know that you're getting your advice from a qualified source, an experienced source, because you're dealing with your health, whether it's physical or mental, it's so important, right? So, yeah. So,
Very, very sensible. And I think the problem with naturopathy is that there are a lot of different colleges and universities providing it, and there isn't the kind of central hypnotherapy listing that you might have within
quite different.
hypnotherapy business. So it's a bit more disjointed. So keep that in mind, everybody.
Okay, great. Okay, so can you just like share with our community maybe one or two very practical, very natural tips that, anyone with some kind of chronic disease, could include very easily in their day-to-day life so that they get healthier, they get a little better?
Yeah. So, of course, I could go on for hours about how you should exercise and get enough sleep and not have computer screens blaring at you all the time and so on. But the one that you asked me for one thing. So what I'm going to do is, which you'll probably agree with as a hypnotherapist, I think that if everyone on the planet spent 10, 15 minutes in the morning, 10 or 15 minutes in the evening, doing simple secular meditation, relaxation exercises, this can change. I remember I was working when I first came to Singapore, and my colleague said, how come you're totally calm all day? You're so calm. And I said, am I? I hadn't noticed. And then I thought about it, and I was doing more than about 2 hours meditation every morning at that time. And it rubs off on the rest of your day. So if you meditate every day, even if it's for 5 minutes in the morning, keep doing it, keep doing it. If you stop for one day, you go back 7 days in terms of getting into a calm state. So meditation can help almost every kind of person get many health problems can be reduced by uh, meditation.
I totally agree with you because I do 20 minutes in the morning, about 20 minutes at night. And
Great.
if you do it consistently for, you sustain it for 1, 2 years, you find, yeah, things flow a lot better. I mean, things will always happen, but the way you handle it also tends to
The
be,
way you handle it, yeah.
a lot more steadier. I find that
Yep.
I've become more grounded, more centered over the years because of it. And again, the effects you can only feel, after a certain number of years. You notice that's quite different the way how you handle things sometimes.
Yes, that's
So
right.
yeah, totally agree with you. Okay, and finally, is there like perhaps one? Do you have like any new products, or are you writing a new book? Would you like to share it with us?
That's kind of you, Rita. What I'd like to share with you is, and I'm even if people have listened all this time, what they're going to hear now is pretty mind-blowing. So I hope they'll find it really exciting.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you a story which then leads into some fundamental health transformation in the world. Um, in 2017 in the UK, a big organization called diabetes.co.uk. What they did was they arranged for 7,000 diabetics who were on medication, 7,000 diabetics to go onto a program, which is basically low carbohydrate program for 12 weeks or a few months or something. At the end of that time, and people were being supported by an app, and various encouragement things were included in this. And they had uh, portion control nutrition. So during those 3 months or so, their meals were there for them. They didn't have to prepare anything. So it was very easy because it was free for these 7,000 people, very easy for them to keep to the regimen. Anyway, at the end, they checked the results, and they found that 90% of those 7,000 people had improved their weight significantly. That's pretty important, 90%. 69% were off their diabetes medication. This saved the National Health Service, the British government, £6.9 million just for those 7,000 people.
Whoa.
So this is just astonishing, mind-blowing stuff. And so they were so impressed, they said, well, we'll try and make it available to all GPs in England. So I'd love to see results in a few years' time. That was in 2019, the results came out, or 18. So this is pretty exciting. So it suggests that if one could get people to eat more healthily, low carbohydrate eating, then a lot of other things go along with this. And if you take Singapore, for example, there are gradually increasing number of overweight people, and there's a very high prevalence of type 2 diabetes. If the government thought, okay, we're subsidizing metformin and glipizide and insulin for all these people, if we spend the next 6 months giving everybody who is overweight and health challenged by the being overweight, and everyone who's diabetic, free portable nutrition. So they're eating 4 or 5, 6 times a day. They're never hungry. 11 grams of protein in every meal, and so on, fiber, vitamins and minerals, probiotics, but only 100 calories in each meal. So if people had these given to them, they would reduce their medication. And suddenly you would take the pressure off the dialysis centers. There'd be all sorts of things that would be improved. And that's what I think is important. And so this is where my dream comes, is that I've just started working with a big US company that's been doing these kind of portion control nutrition for 40 years. And what they can provide is delivered to the house that all but one meal a day for a whole month. And the person arrives in a box, they are coached in how to use it, and they'll see improvements in that. It's predictable health improvement. And because they're eating 11 grams of protein every 2 or 3 hours, their carbohydrate craving goes away. And so they aren't wanting to eat. And this is what I've noticed. I've been using it for a year or two. The carbohydrate craving just it vanishes. So
Really?
it really does. Everyone I talk with who you
No
say, oh
bread?
yeah,
You won't
when
hunger
I
for it? So
no,
pastries?
no hunger pangs. So you don't, and you don't, you're just not interested. You look at this shop in Singapore full of kaya buns and sugar-coated rolls, and you
Yummy.
think, ugh.
No
But
more.
if you were walking past and you hadn't eaten for 4 hours, you'd think, oh, the raisin bun or the custard pie. Yeah. And this is what we're enabling people, is to escape from that, because after 10 minutes after eating their portion controlled nutrition meal, and if the government did it, if I could get through to the Minister of Health and explain this to him, a huge differences could be made. I was in a
Recruitment now
I,
to the
I
Minister of
was
Health.
I was in a I've tried to get through to him, but his secretaries won't let him speak to him. Um, I was in a conference with about 6 or 7, a panel discussion with 6 or 7 diabetic doctors on the stage. And they were each gave a little speech, and then they asked for questions. So I stood up and said, I'm using these methods, and I listed what we coach people to do, and I've seen amazing results. And one of the doctors says, yeah, you know, I told you about the lady who'd been diabetic for so and so, and how she's now got sugar levels of, she's using that method that you're talking about. Wow, this is really good. In fact, just to finish with one more story, I have a lady who's been diabetic for 26 years, and she lives in Ireland. I've never been to see her in Ireland, but her daughter lives in Singapore. So she said, could you coach my mum over Skype? She'd been diabetic for 26 years, taking metformin all that time. When she went after 3 to 6 months, she went to see her endocrinologist, her specialist on diabetes. And he said, look at these results. He said, I'm so excited. I've never seen this before. Somebody who's been diabetic for 26 years and now they're pre-diabetic. How did you do it? Tell me, tell me. So this is a specialist saying that to her. And her health has been a lot better ever since. That's 2 years or so since that was done for her.
That's wonderful. Yes, thank
So
you
I've
so much.
forgiven everyone for all my enthusiasm. I hope it's been interesting for everyone.
Yes, I think I've been so heartened to hear all these stories, especially because, right, I think the goal of anyone who wants to help people is to see them happier, to see them healthier, to see them, gaining that freedom, right? Basically, to be free to run, to move, because to live
If
their
I
life
can
without being
interrupt again,
putting weight down, right?
yeah, to interrupt again, I'm sorry, but there's one of the things that one of the things I am aware of is that in Singapore, on average, the older people, they spend 8 to 10 years with chronic ill health before they die. And what I want to do is for people to be healthy until the last 7 minutes or something. That would be much better. And if you can get rid of some of the chronic, the problems that come with diabetes, as you know, are extreme and numerous and go into every organ of the body nearly. So if we can get people to optimize their weight and optimize their sugar levels, we can really help people to have a healthier life. And also it's cost neutral. When people save having to go to hospital when they're older, all the cost of getting coached by a naturopath 10 years ago is just vanished because you're saving on medical bills later on. So it doesn't cost anything to be healthy. which is quite exciting. I mean, the meals we provide are about $5.15 per meal, Singapore dollars. That's a lot less than you pay in the Hawker Center. But
Yes.
in the Hawker Center, you wouldn't get 11 grams of protein, 4 grams of fiber, and so on and so on. And you'd have something that's probably got 500 calories, and this is only 100 calories. But we have to do a health explore call with someone to check whether anything like this is suitable for them. So I offer free phone chats to people if they're interested in finding out how it can help themselves or their relatives. Thanks.
All right. So I will place your WhatsApp and your links down, okay, so that all those of you who are interested in getting that free health check, and if you want to talk to Charles Barton, write more about any of this, I'm very sure he will welcome that and help all of us try to evolve into healthier versions of ourselves. Thank you, Charles, for coming here, for enlightening us, for, perhaps, especially for those people who are suffering from diabetes, I think this provides a ray of hope as well. So thank you for coming here. Okay, so
Been a
just
pleasure.
before I leave,
Yep.
I think I'll just, I'll just make sure that okay, so this is the health strategy in the free ebook. So for those of you who would like to know more about what he was talking about, you can just go and get the free copy of Stop, Challenge and Choose. I'll put all this in the link below my YouTube channel so that everyone can, stop by and take a look at that. And again, his WhatsApp number and, his Facebook page, all these links also, I will place them down below so that you can contact Charles, okay, and get some insights or clarify anything that you need to. Okay, great. All right, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Rita. Have a great day. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope it's been useful. Thank you.
It certainly has. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye-bye
bye.
for now. Bye.